So on today's video, we're going to be stitching the round neck of the material that we've already cut out. So you stitch the round neck, you notch it, and you top stitch the one you want to use as the inside. Remember, we cut two pieces. So along the keyhole area, we are also going to stitch with 1/2 inch, and we will notch. We might not be able to top stitch because by then it's already blocked. So afterwards, we are going to turn to the right side, and this is what we'll have when we are done notching, top stitching it, and turning to the right side of the fabric. So after we do that, we'll pin the base, that's the keyhole area. We pin it towards the armhole. It's going to complete the armhole. It's not on its own. It's like a continuation of the armhole. So you pin it from the armhole to any point it stops, and that is it. So you also pin the other area from the armhole to any point that it stops. So we're going to take the lining. So after we pin it, we run a stitch through it. So we'll take the lining and place it on top of this. We'll take the lining and place it on top of this. So we run a stitch through it from one end to the other, so that we can have neat stitches and neat finishings. So run a stitch from one end to the other end. That's where the keyhole thing stopped. So we also take the main fabric and run a stitch from the upper end to the zip allowance area. We will notch it and we'll top stitch it. We will now stitch the down and we'll stitch the sides starting from the top. So when we are done with this fabric, this is what we're going to have. So you can see how lovely this front piece looks. So this is what the back piece looks like, neatly turned with the lining, and we're very particular about our neat finishings. Okay, so you can see how the keyhole thing now sits and blends easily with the armhole area. So now that we are done with that, the next thing is to join shoulder to shoulder. But you wouldn't just run your 1/2 inch through the shoulder. You would have to do it systematically so that the work is going to be very neat. So now watch very closely. You take fabric to fabric. You take the lining and wrap around the main fabric. That's the fabric of the front. You take the lining and wrap around it because we're trying to get a very neat finishing. Then you pin it. After you pin it all the way to the end, and then you run a stitch through it. 1/2 inch seam allowance. So that's going to be our shoulder seam. So I've taken it to the sewing machine and I'm going to run a stitch through it. So you also do it to the other side. But there's something about this particular project. I realized that my apprentice did not turn the other side very well. That's the other side of the fabric. So I couldn't fix the two shoulders. She had to repeat stitching of the other side before I could stitch the other shoulder. So it's just a basic 1/2 inch stitch. You stitch it with 1/2 inch and I'll show you just how beautiful and neat it looks. Just wait for it. So if you're new to this channel, don't forget to like this video, share and subscribe. So I had to do a small cut. You see this cut I did, it's just to let that part of the shoulder seam relax very well, because there's going to be a lot of bulk due to the sewing allowance and all that pressure. So see how it's going to look when you're done. So if it looks like this, you know you got it very well. So the next thing we're going to do is the other side. So like I told you, I couldn't proceed with this project at this point because she didn't get the other side well. So we'll just run it through and then do exactly what we did to the left